Levante, if you guys are watching this, I hope you guys are relegated. I do not want Barca playing against Levante, specifically away from home, for the next 3 years. With this match that we saw against Levante, it's enough. Like we saw against Levante away from home in the last matches that we have played against them, the last match being all the way back in 2022, it was never going to be an easy match. I heavily underestimated Levante in my match preview. Barcelona do just scrape away with a win, winning in stoppage time 3-2 against Levante. And there is a lot to go over for sure. I mean, I have to go to the doctor to get my blood pressure checked after this match because, man, oh man, it was a tale of two halves for sure. So we do have to talk about Levante's performance, specifically in the first half, and their overall performance as well, of course. And we do have to talk about Barca's performance, specifically in the second half, and their overall performance, of course. And also the comeback, because there was a comeback right here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into that. For those of you guys that are new, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Your guys' support truly does mean a lot to me, and it gets me motivated to keep going with these videos. So if you guys could go ahead and do that, I really appreciate your guys' support. So let's go ahead and get right into the match. So going into this match right here, Barca did start off with this lineup right here. As expected, we did have Joan Garcia in goal. The backline that we did have, we had Balde, Cubarsi, Araujo, and Eric Garcia starting at right back. I did say in my match preview about Eric Garcia, if he does start at right back, it just goes to show that Koundé does have genuine courage and competition on that right hand side in the right back position. Or unless it may be something about Koundé that we don't know. Maybe he's having fitness issues. But Eric Garcia did get the nod ahead of Jules Koundé in this match. In the double pivot, we had Pedri and Marc Asado starting. As I did say in my match review also, Frenkie de Jong did have his newborn baby just a few days ago, which congratulations to him. It is completely understandable if he wasn't mentally ready for the match or mentally not fully there. Makes sense because, I mean, to have a new baby, things could get hectic and so forth. So Marc Asado got the start ahead of Frenkie de Jong, and Frenkie de Jong wasn't involved in the match at all. And talking about the front four, we did have a surprise inclusion of Marcus Rashford on the left-hand side, Rafinha in the number 10 position, Lamine Yamal on the right-hand side, and Ferran Torres. Now, when I saw that front four right there, I was actually really excited to see what they could do, as we do have four dynamic players in that front four that could interchange in positions and look to cause chaos for the Levante defense, as usually when it comes to these mid to low table teams, they do tend to sit back a bit more for the most part. So going into the match, Barca were looking to get at Levante, as we know Barca usually do. They usually like to start off on the front foot. And Lamine Yamal and Rashford on the flanks, they did show glimpses of good quality. They were looking to take their man on, looking to make things happen. However, despite all of that and looking to get at Levante, there were some warning signs pretty early on before the first goal of Levante looking to hit us on the counterattack. As Levante, props to them, they defended really well whenever it came to Barca trying to go into the center. Barca found it really hard to find space in the center. They would either put it out wide or circulate the ball in between the double pivots who were deeper, or the center backs and so forth. So Barca found it really hard to get into the penalty box or in and around there. And whenever Levante forced turnovers or got the ball, they were looking to hit balls in behind Barca's high line at any time. Now, at first, Levante were unsuccessful. They were caught off by the offside trap. a few times that they did make Joan Garcia get off his line and make him work, but that wouldn't be the case for long, as Levante actually did end up getting the first goal. It was quick 1-2 play on the right hand side, and before you know it, Levante are on the break. The Levante player crosses the ball into the far post, and the player who receives it just simply lays it off to a player in the middle. And the player who receives it, Ivan Romero, he does a nice little body feint of dropping the shoulder to take Cubarsi out of the game and to dispatch the goal and make it 1-0. It was honestly a really good goal by Levante in terms of the skill that was showed and the composure being in the penalty box, but also some could debate that Cubarsi could have done better in standing still and looking at the ball, but unfortunately he didn't do that, and Barca were down 1-0. And from there, Barca were looking to push Levante back as they were trying to get the equalizer. They were moving the ball decently, and the players off the ball did have decent movement to create small spaces. And in those small spaces, Barca were taking shots, which I really like to see. I do think it is something that Barca does need to do more of, take shots outside of the box, especially against these these lower block teams or these deep block teams. However, again, Levante, they just kept defending really well whenever it came to Barca getting close to the penalty box or in and around the box. And Levante, they just continued to look dangerous, looking to hit us on the counterattack whenever we made a mistake or they forced a turnover. And they actually did have alarm bells ringing for the defenders, for the back line. I mean, there was even times where the coordination in between the back four wasn't all there, as the back four were looking to play the ball out, looking to get as close to the box as possible and push Levante back. But it was with a cost, as Levante, they were just looking to hit on the counterattack. And Casado, he actually even did save us from the second goal coming shortly after the first goal, as Levante, again, looking to make those runs in behind, did get in behind. And you had Casado running back to defend, and he did nick the ball off the Levante player before he had a chance to get a shot off. I do think Casado played okay. Whenever he did get the ball, he was looking to circulate it quickly, not holding on to it for too long. He was just making quick passes, not really providing a creative outlet, you would say. But he was decent defensively whenever he was called upon, trying to help out, track back whenever he was needed. However, with Levante continuing to look dangerous and Barca continuing to not being able to find space or create chances, it was bound to happen that Levante would end up getting their second goal. Actually, before the second goal, I do have to mention this, that Ferran Torres, he missed a sitter. He missed a really good chance to make the game 1-1. It was a beautiful pass from Pedri Potter. It was a disguised pass with his left foot through the Levante player's legs. And that ball left Ferran Torres in a good amount of space inside the penalty box, in and around the penalty box. And all Ferran Torres had to do was just place the ball. He didn't even have to put any power on it. But for some reason, Ferran Torres, he decides to put a lot of power into it, and he hits the crossbar from about, let's say, maybe 15 yards out, 20 yards out. But that was a clear chance that Barca had to make it 1-1. However, they didn't take that chance. And Rafinha, he actually also did have a chance too. It wasn't a clear chance as Ferran Torres' chance, but it was a decent chance where it was a ball crossed in from the left-hand side, and Rafinha just heads it wide. And that was the case for Barca during this first half. They just had a hard time to get that first goal to make it level. And with Levante being dangerous on the counterattack, it was bound that they would get their second goal. And they did get it just before the second half ended. So Barca did end up making a mistake in the build-up. And before you know it, you have about 4 or 5 Levante players rushing forward to try to get on the counterattack. And you have Barca players panicking, rushing back, like Balde, Cubarsi, Casado, and so forth. And luckily, and then good enough that Balde made a great tackle to prevent a shot on goal for the Levante player, but the play wasn't over from there. The deflection off that tackle from Balde did end up going to a Levante player, and the Levante player took a shot, and it hit Balde. Now, when the shot was hit, Balde, he did end up turning, and his hand was close to his body. It wasn't out, but it wasn't all the way in either. And some people would say it was a penalty. Some say it wasn't. I mean, you could say it was kind of a controversy of it being given, but once the referee reviewed the VAR, he saw that it was a penalty and the penalty was given. And I mean, it is what it is. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of that choice. But before you know it, Elche get a 2-0 lead from a penalty. The penalty taker coolly dispatching it, and Barca end the half 2-0. And to summarize the half for Barca and Levante, they were really good defensively. They were really dangerous on the counterattacks and did exploit the spaces that Barca did leave it behind with their high line. Barca did not make their chances whenever they had the chances. They were defensively all over the place. I do think that playing the front four did cause a little bit imbalance when it came to them defensively, of the 4 players not tracking back or maybe not pressing high. That is something that Barca is going to need to look at and consider after this match for sure. So we'll go ahead and see what happens there. But I do think that the intensity for Barca in that first half just wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. And that would change for sure, as Hansi Flick in the second half, he would need to make changes as he saw in the first half. And those changes were bound to come, which we'll go ahead and get on to the second half. Going into the second half, Hansi Flick didn't make changes as he clearly did need to. Hansi Flick did end up bringing Dani Olmo in for Rashford. He had Olmo playing the number 10 position and slotted Rafinha back into the left-hand side as he usually is. And Hansi Flick also brought on Gavi for Marc Casado, as he brought on Gavi to bring in a little bit more creativity into that midfield. As Marc Casado, he was circulating the ball quick and well whenever he needed, but he wasn't providing that creativity that Barca needed to break down Levante. So going early into the second half, Levante did continue to try to catch Barca off guard with that high line, and they almost did pretty early on in the second half. However, it didn't happen for them. And I don't know what Hansi Flick said to the players, but I'm pretty sure he must have gotten to them for sure, as Barca did get a goal back relatively quickly into the second half on the 49th minute. It was an absolute banger from Pedri Potter. Man, it was a banger from Pedri. He ended up receiving the ball just outside of the box with quite a bit of space, and he did happen to take the shot with that space that he did have, and it went into the right hand corner. And with that, before you know it, you had Barca 2-1, and from there you could kind of feel that the momentum was going with Barca. And just 3 minutes after Pedri's goal, Barca get a set piece. They get a corner kick where Ferran Torres, he is poorly marked by the Levante defenders. He gets right in front of them and is able to score a volley inside inside or around the penalty box to make it 2-2. And before you know it, in a matter of less than 10 minutes going into the second half, Barca are level 2-2. And it's just like, why does Barca make us suffer like this? We've seen it happen with Barca last season. Last season, we had them face the likes of Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan, and they go 2 goals down, and out of nowhere, they end up coming back. So this was the same case right here against Levante, where they were 2 goals down, and Barca show resilience, they show their mentality, and they make a comeback, being 2-2 in a matter of minutes. And it just goes to show the elite mentality that Hansi Flick has instilled in these players, as it is needed, especially during a long season. And it just shows that the players do listen to Hansi Flick, and that is really good to see. As in the last match, Hansi Flick was not impressed by Barca's performance, with the intensity dropping in the second half. In this match, it was a different case of Barca not having full intensity in the first half, and Barca did eventually end up picking up the intensity in the second half. It's just a matter of Hansi Flick having to work with the players on that, with keeping the intensity fully for the match. But from those 2 goals onwards, Barca just dominated the ball. Levante were completely demoralized after losing their 2-goal lead, and you can see Levante just dropping deep and defending. As for them on the counter-attack in the second half, they weren't that much of a threat aside from the beginning few minutes, but they weren't that much of a threat anymore going deeper into that second half. And Barca continued to try to get that 3rd goal. They even went as far as to making changes into that lineup that they did have out there. So Barca did end up shifting to a 3-5-2 formation. Hansi Flick did take out Araujo and put in Christensen, as Christensen does have better ball playing ability, and ended up taking out Balde as well and putting in Lewandowski to have 2 strikers in the box to be able to receive crosses. So it was a 3-5-2. Barca were continuing to create chances and taking shots on. Ferran Torres, we would see throughout that second half, he did have a presence in the box. Of course, he did get his goal from the corner kick, but aside from the goal in the second half, he did get a few crosses to him. However, in those crosses, he didn't really get the contact that he would have wanted, whether it was too soft of a header or heading the ball straight to the keeper. However, Ferran Torres' presence in the box would be important, especially for the 3rd goal. So, Barca create those chances. Rafinha, he also did get a shot off on goal, which it did end up deflecting, and the goalkeeper just blocked it without him knowing anything about it. But Barca were just ramping the pressure on and on and on. And the 3rd goal ended up coming on the 91st minute, and it ended up being an own goal. As I did say, Ferran Torres' presence in the box was truly important for this goal, as the cross was meant for Ferran Torres coming deep from the right-hand side. And with the defender seeing Ferran Torres trying to receive that header, he had no choice but to try to challenge Ferran Torres to not get that header and, defend it out. But it was unfortunate for the defender. Fortunate for Barca, but unfortunate for the defender. It ended up grazing his head, and it ended up going into their goal, making the match 3-2 on the 91st minute. And honestly, for Levante, I do have to give props to them for the way they played, especially in the first half, of how well they defended, restricting space for Barca, especially in that first half, limiting Barca's opportunity and danger, specifically in the center, and causing panic to Barca even whenever it came to counterattacks, and ultimately punishing them with 2 goals. When I saw the first half, I genuinely did think Barca were gonna lose or probably tie, but how could I doubt Hansi Flick and these players? I mean, Hansi Flick and these players, they are different. If this was any other of the previous managers that we've had, the other group of players that we've had, I would have said otherwise and probably would have thought that, and probably would have been the case, but it was just different from the players. I really do like the shift in mentality that they did show. Barca showed their resilience and intensity that we have seen before under Hansi Flick to come back from 2 goals down. Again, despite the win though, I don't think Hansi Flick is going to be too content. You know, especially after that first half performance. There are a few things that he is going to have to look at with the defensive coordination of the team, whether it's learning how to counter press better or checking back when they are being countered, and to see if he is going to stick with the high line, which I am pretty sure he's going to stick with the high line, but we're going to have to go ahead and see how he manages that defense. And also to have Barca have the intensity throughout the whole match, because that's another thing that Barca do need to work on. As I mentioned in the micro match, it was the second half. In this match, it was the first half that intensity wasn't all there. It was okay, but could have been better. And these were 3 very important points for Barca. It is important for Barca to get these 3 points to be able to stay on top of the league. Atletico Madrid, they did just drop points against Elche in the league, and that puts them 5 points behind Barca, and it puts pressure on Real Madrid, who are set to play tomorrow as well. And these are the types of matches that Barca does need to scrape through and win, even if it's not the best, even if it's not pretty. But Barca needs to get these wins and continue to work hard to try to make things better. But you guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What did you guys make of Barca's performance overall? Would you guys like to see that front four again of Rashford, Rafinha, Ferran, and Lamine Yamal? What did you guys make of Levante's performance, if you guys were even paying attention to Levante? But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. For those of you guys that did tune into my video, I really do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, your guys' support truly does go a long way. It means a lot to me. It motivates me to keep these videos going. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And this was Footy Talks. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.